Hola y bienvenido a Learn Spanish en SpanishDict.com. Soy Perly Whitmire y soy tu profesora. Hoy aprenderás de las reglas del subjuntivo, como wish. Espero que me compre un collar. Doubt. Duda que los extraterrestres existan. Y mucho más. ¡Vámonos! The subjunctive may seem weird to you because you don't use it too often in English. And when you do, it doesn't really sound very different from the indicative, so you may not even notice that you're using it. But I'm not here to teach you about the subjunctive in English. Let's get started with some español. Now, this is going to be a pretty straight grammar lesson, so try to pay close attention and I'll explain it as best I can. Now, the subjunctive is not a tense, but rather a mood. The other moods in Spanish are the indicative, which you have learned several tenses for, the present, the preterite, the imperfect, etc. And you've also learned about the imperative mood, which are all the command forms. The subjunctive mood in Spanish is used to express the opposite of the indicative, which is objective and truthful. Instead of communicating facts, the subjunctive is used to express desires, doubts, the unknown, the abstract, and emotions. Overall, it is nice to generalize the indicative as truth and the subjunctive as unknown. You can have many of the same tenses in both the indicative and the subjunctive, but they will have different forms and endings. Like you can have the imperfect indicative or the imperfect subjunctive, the present indicative or the present subjunctive, the future indicative or the future subjunctive. There are lots more, but we won't get to those just yet. So let's talk about the requirements for a subjunctive sentence. When do you use the subjunctive instead of the indicative? Well, there will be three main parts to each subjunctive sentence. There will be two different subjects, one in the main clause or independent clause, and one in the subordinate or dependent clause. Remember your recommendations? Recomiendo, I recommend, que lleves un casco, that you wear a helmet. I and you. Next, there will be a relative pronoun like que, quien, or como, which links the two clauses. We have used que many times so far, but it is important to recognize and use the other relative pronouns as well. Quiero un hombre que sea rico. I want a man who is rich. The third requirement is that there be two verbs, one for each subject. One verb will be in the indicative and will signal that the next verb will be in the subjunctive. I call this the indicative signal verb, or a weirdo verb, but we'll get to the weirdo verbs in a second. Espero que me compre un brazalete. Espero is the indicative present form for I wish or I hope. This is the weirdo verb that signals the next verb will be subjunctive, which is compre in the present subjunctive. The infinitive for compre is comprar, which means to buy. Okay, so you think you get the three requirements? Two different subjects, each with their own verb, one in the indicative and one in the subjunctive, all separated by a relative pronoun. Now just say that 3 times fast and you'll remember it forever. Now on to the weirdo. This is the acronym that I use to remember when to use the subjunctive instead of the indicative. Wishes, emotions, impersonal expressions, recommendations, which you already know, doubt or denial, and after the word ojalá. Let's start with a few examples for the wishes category. Number 1, wishing, wanting, demanding, desiring, expecting, ordering, and preferring all fall into the wishes or the W category, because the dependent clause represents what we want from another person, and it hasn't yet occurred or may never occur, and is thus not a fact or reality, so you use the subjunctive. Espero que me compre un collar de diamantes. I hope that he buy me a diamond necklace. quiero que cortes la leña para la chimenea. I want you to chop the wood for the fireplace. Some other verbs that can be used to express wishes and wants are agradecer, to be grateful, desear, to wish or to desire, esperar, to expect or to hope for, mandar, to order, pedir, to request, and preferir, to prefer. Next in our acronym WEIRDO, we have the letter E, which stands for emotions. Being annoyed, angry, happy, regretful, sad, scared, or surprised all fall into this category. Any personal reaction to a situation is emotional. The focus is not a factual observation of the situation, but rather an observation of how the situation makes the subject feel. Since how a person reacts to a situation and how they feel is always subjective, you use the subjunctive. Me alegro de que sonrías. It makes me happy that you smile. Estoy enojado que el tren llegara tarde. I am angry that the train arrived late. A few other verbs of emotion you may see are encantar, to be delighted, lamentar, to regret, molestar, to annoy, sentir, to feel, sorprender, to surprise, and temer, to fear. Siguiente en WEIRDO, tenemos impersonal expressions. Impersonal expressions work a lot like emotions in that they are someone's opinion or value judgment. They focus on the subjectivity of the subject and not the actual truth or reality of the situation. Almost any phrase with es plus an adjective plus que can be an impersonal expression, as long as it doesn't state any truth. Es verdad que, it is true that. Any certainty, es cierto que, it is certain that. Or any fact, es hecho que, it's a fact that. Those are all indicative phrases because they state the truth or reality. But their opposites, no es verdad que, no es cierto que, and no es hecho que, are used for the subjunctive. Es increíble que los guepardos corran tan rápidamente. It is incredible that cheetahs can run so quickly. Es importante que llames a tu abuela por su cumpleaños. It is important that you call your grandmother on her birthday. There are tons of impersonal expressions out there, but a few of the more common ones are es bueno que, it's good that, es malo que, it's bad that, es curioso que, it's curious that, es extraño que, it's strange that, and es una lástima que, it's a pity that. Vale, la siguiente letra en WEIRDO ya sabes, recommendations. When a person recommends, suggests, wants, or asks another person to do something, the subjunctive is used because you never know if that person will actually do what you want, right? In this case, the relative pronoun que separates the recommender from the recommendation. Mi madre me aconseja que coma todo el brócoli. My mother advises me to eat all of my broccoli. Mi doctor me recomienda que tome vitaminas cada mañana. My doctor recommends that I take a vitamin every morning. A few other useful recommendation verbs you might run across are decir, to say, ordenar, to order, proponer, to suggest, and suplicar, to beg. Ahora la letra D, doubt. Doubt indicates that a situation seems unreal, therefore it is not factual. To doubt or deny something is to question its sense of reality, and therefore it's the subjunctive. No creen que los extraterrestres existan. They don't believe that aliens exist. Dudo que me llamare. I doubt that he will call me. Finalmente, estamos a la letra O de WEIRDO. The O stands for ojalá, which is a Spanish word with Arabic origins. Originally, it meant O Allah, when may have been used in prayer. Nowadays, it has taken on several more general meanings like I hope to God that, I hope, or if only. Ojalá can introduce a subjunctive phrase with or without the relative pronoun, so this is an exception to that one requirement.